So yeah, we'll be watching all of that here on News Now from Fox and seeing how these state and local health officials are trying to prevent, vaccines not going to where they should be. So just an interesting angle on the vaccine story as it's unfolding at the moment. I'm Andrew Kraft. It's about the bottom of the hour here, 4 o'clock in Phoenix, Arizona on News Now from Fox. We do have a live event, a live report that we want to get to out of Georgia at the moment. I'm being joined by Fox's Madeline Rivera. She's going to give us the latest on what's going on with Joe Biden, the president-elect. Maddie, he was in Georgia today, isn't that right?
Hey, Andrew. Yes, I've been following President-elect Joe Biden, who made his second trip to Georgia within the last few weeks here today. And it was his closing pitch for the two Democratic candidates for those crucial Senate runoffs in the state. Biden campaigned on behalf of Jon Ossoff and Reverend Raphael Warnock, saying that the fate of his legislative agenda and the rest of the country really rests on what happens here in Georgia tomorrow. So he emphasized that in order to get things done, the Democrats must gain control of the Senate, which is why everyone's paying attention to what's happening in Georgia right now. And he says he can get his legislative agenda achieved, and he can also deliver on those $2,000 stimulus checks if the Democrats gain control of the Senate. And that's why he was making that point today that Georgians should go out and vote, because they're really voting for themselves and the rest of the country when they go out tomorrow. Andrew.
And Madeline, obviously, the big story that broke yesterday is this phone call that President Trump had with the Secretary of State there in Georgia and a lawyer for the Secretary of State's office. So, what has the Biden team, if at all, have they mentioned this? Have they brought this up? And have the Democratic Senate candidates brought this up? I'm sure they were asked about this today, Ossoff and Warnock. What can you tell us about that on that front?
Yes, they have. Ossoff and Warnock both addressed it today. In fact, Warnock, during one of his campaign speeches earlier this afternoon, said, have you heard about what happened with that phone call? But it was interesting. He didn't want Georgians to focus on what happened on that phone call. He said what's really important is the Senate runoffs and what will happen there, because regardless of, that phone call, Trump will eventually have to leave the White House. So he says the most important thing that Georgians can do right now to make a difference is to actually go out and vote and not get distracted by this phone call that Trump had with Georgia's Secretary of State. So, yeah, it was interesting to hear that from Warnock, kind of an interesting take on that, Andrew.
And Madeline, I was kind of curious as well, now that the holidays are over, we're in January, the inauguration is just 16 days away, but we have this big day on Wednesday, the 6th, in which, Congress essentially needs to certify the electors from the states. What is the Biden team's response to a lot of these efforts right now from, Senate Republicans and the president himself about, throwing a wrench into that process? Usually this process is meant to just be ceremonial and procedural, but, are Biden and Harris, are they talking about this? Is the transition concerned about this effort at the moment?
The Republican Party for basically, not thinking for themselves and following Trump's path here. And that's really one of his big criticisms when it comes to some members of the Republican Party. But Biden's team has always said, regardless of, any of the things that Republicans might do, regardless of the opposition that they might face from some Senate Republicans, they still have enough votes, and regardless of what will happen, Biden will be inaugurated on January 20th. So, they're kind of just brushing it to the side, saying that the Electoral College has spoken, and on Wednesday, the Congress, with the exception of those Senate Republicans who are going to vote, as well as those House Republicans who are going to oppose the results of the Electoral College, they're going to certify, Congress is going to end up certifying the results anyway. So, they are looking forward to that.